welcome all of you to our Thursday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. For anybody that is joining for the first time this morning, these sessions are fully recorded. They are about 12 minutes or so in length. We save time at the end for Q&A, but it's a fully guided practice with periods of silence throughout. But anybody that wants to hop off at the end of practice and not stay for the Q&A, of course, that's fine. But John Roberts joins us as in the opening part of the session to bring forth announcements. And John, whatever else you'd like to offer us this morning before we get started.
Thank you, Tara. Tara, let me drag forth some announcements here. So, as Tara mentioned, I'm John. I'm here representing Living Well Community, the hub for interactive virtual wellness classes and on-demand programming created and curated for us all by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. Now, Tara, as I think has probably not escaped your notice, on the first 3 Tuesdays in May, our friend Cara Lai, mindfulness teacher, mother, is presenting for us a set of sessions entitled Parenting as Practice, Mindfulness for Busy Moms and Dads. All right, now our session, the first session, I should say, with Cara took place earlier this week, and I'd like to drop into the chat the place that people can go to find the recording of that, and also the link you can use to attend our next session with Cara, Tuesday, May 13th, 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So let me just pop those into the chat. Now, I want to make sure everyone knows that these sessions with Cara Lai, just like all of our Living Well community programming, are free, open to anyone. So feel free to share around information about these offerings to anyone you like. Now, Tara, one of the things that Cara said in our session on Tuesday that stuck in my mind is this.
Yeah.
If we are parents who are meditators, or if we are parents who are into mindfulness type practices, it's probably okay not to get stressed out about how good we're being when it comes to teaching our children how to be mindful per se. Rather, if we work on ourselves, if we put the work into making sure that we are ourselves mindful and are acting mindfully, that will result in us naturally expressing mindfulness in such a way that is probably more understandable and impactful and emulatable for our children. So, more so than, for example, if we were to sit our children down and say, this is how you meditate, this is how you can be mindful. And really, that's a relief for me as a parent. But also, if I'm being honest, I think it's probably the same thing with other adults. It's probably much easier to promote mindfulness with other adults by just acting mindfully towards them instead of saying, you should really be meditating. Have you ever felt motivated to say that to somebody, Tara, or wanted to, like, hey, what would help you out is if you meditated? Has that ever worked for you or for anyone?
No, that has never worked. And John, I will say, like, honestly, that is something that I've pretty much kept away from, knowing that it's just not the way to go. And I think Cara Lai, she's amazing, by the way. So for folks that are on today and want to join, she's a young woman, remarkably talented teacher. Highly recommend her. But yeah, I mean, it's intuitive, I think, John, to demonstrate yourself. Like, how do you show up in the world?
But I'll tell you, it's tough. I think that probably everyone, when they first start meditating, right, they're like, I got to tell everyone about this.
Yeah, I in the beginning did feel that way, like, oh my gosh.
And it's working in a conversation like, okay, what are you going to be eating? I'm going to have a salad. And also, you should meditate. I think I was a bit like that. I've learned to, but then you just have to, if you're being actually mindful, then you're paying attention to people's faces when you say that to them. And then you realize you should stop doing it. So Tara, as you know, we do a lot of mindfulness workshops for private clients, for organizations. And it has been a rule that you've stood by from the beginning, which I've always appreciated, that an employer should not say to their employees, like, you have to attend this mindfulness workshop.
Right. Not mandatory.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it seems
Yeah.
like a recipe for someone to be like, oh yeah, I have to attend this 5 minutes workshop. Okay, we'll see about that. I'm not gonna like it. I feel like you could turn off an entire generation of people just by forcing them
Yeah.
to meditate. But fortunately, enough. I think we've reached a tipping point where like people are like, all these people who are meditating over there seem like they're in a much better mood. Maybe I should try that. So another thing, Tara, that Kara mentioned, that's related to this, I believe, is the fact that telling our children, reassuring them that what they happen to be feeling is okay to feel, is itself a kind of a mindfulness practice. Like telling your kid it's okay to feel all the feels is a way of being mindful, and also a way of teaching them a mindfulness lesson, if sort of indirectly. And I think this is aligned, in my mind at least, with how we're taught to meditate. Because to me, such a large part of meditation is learning to give ourselves permission to have thoughts, like not getting worked up when thoughts arise, not saying, I shouldn't be thinking, I should not be thinking this thing, but instead, it's okay for this thought to
Mhm.
have emerged. Which is not to say that we allow ourselves, to marinate or to wallow in the thoughts or the thinking, but it's not that we should feel bad about it. That's correct, right?
That
That's
is, yeah,
that good?
no, that is absolutely correct. And I think, like John, what you just said, it's so important because the misconceptions continue to abound, that we are supposed to have this, the minute we get into a meditative posture, we're supposed to just have a clear, calm mind, as if getting into the posture brings that on. If that were true, people would be sitting all day long. Or,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
really, yeah, you get to see what's on your mind and what your mental habit patterns are more clearly through the thinking.
We're not like computers that you can just like turn off and then turn back
Right.
on when the meditation's done, right? Or it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like being in a coma, I feel, if like you actually
Yeah.
were blanking your mind. And this says you want to be able to, come out of the meditation when you
Yeah.
want. So all this, one more thing, Tara. So all this being said, I'm gonna admit something, which is when
Okay.
my child is sad, it can be hard for me to manage that reaction. It's okay for you to be sad, because it's often the case that his expression of being sad is going to include throwing something, maybe at me. And so it can require all of my mindful energies to sort of lay out all of these competing feelings on my mental table, right? Like over here, we have his feelings of sadness. Over here are my feelings of anger or frustration at how he's lashing
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And then when I have everything laid out, though, I can be like, okay, what needs to be most urgently addressed or neutralized? And what can
yeah,
wait? What can wait till later? And I think like a lot for me, a lot of mindfulness practice is cultivating that kind of mental table that I can keep neat and orderly, so that when things get dumped on it all at once, it's easier to sort through them more quickly.
yeah. I think that's, yeah, I mean, well stated, John. And I mean, this applies for adults, for our relationships with colleagues, like, or family, the allowance of another person's emotion, no matter how difficult. And I think it's easier. Part of the practice helps us be with our own emotions, and then that translates into helping us be with others.
And Tara, I will eat my hat if that is not going to be a part of your meditation practice today, is just, learning how to sort of address these feelings as they come up and not, become overwhelmed by them. So with that, I feel like I'm going
Yes.
to leave you be to,
Thank you,
to
John.
lead these folks into the practice.
Yes.
More. Thank you as always for having me. Great to see everyone. And
Thank you, John.
I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. All right. Um, so let's go ahead and move right into practice. You have plenty of options in terms of posture. You can sit, you can stand, you can lie down, but if you're tired, I would avoid lying down. And go ahead and just adjust your body. If you're seated or standing, you want to hold yourself in a way that is upright and engaged. I'll often say not too loose, not too tight, kind of somewhere in the middle there, but you have an engagement. Eyes can be open or closed, whatever feels best. If they're open, gaze down a little bit and take 2 deep breaths on your own, just as a way to arrive and settle any surface tension, making the exhalation longer. And letting go of all that has happened this morning and releasing anticipation of what's next. Just allowing yourself to fully arrive here in this moment, mind and body together, bringing full awareness to the whole body, and noticing points of contact along the back of the body and the surface. Receiving the sensations that your body is offering. So that could be, noticing a pulsing or a vibration, noticing temperature. Take a moment to bring awareness to the whole body and just simply receive the various sensations. And expand awareness to include sounds that might be arising in the room or even outside of the room. Just engaging hearing, the sense of hearing. And releasing that and allowing sounds to arise and pass in the background as they will. That's not a problem. And bringing awareness back inward to the whole body. And take a moment to just kind of scan through your body, noticing any areas of holding or tightness, seeing if you can soften, but just to the degree that you can. And you can either start at the feet and move up or start at the head and move down. So take a moment to do that. And let's find an anchor now for the wandering mind. So knowing that thoughts will come and go. And as we said earlier, thoughts are never a problem. We actually can integrate it right into the practice. It's really a pervasive and unfortunate misconception that we should clear the mind. In fact, as thoughts, memories, planning arise, we get to see our mental habit patterns more clearly. So we simply, as soon as we notice that a thought has slipped in, because they're generally uninvited, especially during practice. And it can slip in uninvited, and we could be kind of chomping away on a memory or a worry. As soon as you see it, that's such a good moment because you can just label it. It can be as simple as thinking, or it could be planning or regret. You could be more specific or you could keep it simple. Allow your body to soften. There's almost always a subtle contraction when thought slips in unnoticed and then becomes noticed. Soften the body and then return to what I often call as a stabilizer, something that you can use when the mind wanders to come back to. So that could be breath sensation anywhere in the body. It's easy for you to connect with. So it could be literally like the feeling of the whole body moving when you inhale and when you exhale. So noticing the motion. It could be more narrow, like the rise and fall of the abdomen, or even the air entering and leaving the nostrils. And you could also use sound. So if there's a sound in your background. And alternatively, especially with allergy season, you could take the palms of your hands and you could rest them together, or you could rest them on the top of your thighs, or use another point of contact. So go ahead and take a moment to see what What will be your anchor or your stabilizer? What will you return to? And notice where your mind is. Gently release, soften your body, and return to your anchor. Just over and over again. Each time you notice, label it, soften your body, and return. It's like drops in the bucket of concentration, and a steady, concentrated mind just supports mindfulness in doing its job. And again, noticing where the mind is, softening the body and returning. And as we bring this meditation to a close, I'm going to close with a poem and ask that you just incorporate this into your practice this morning. Um, so you can move your attention, awareness from breath or sound to my words and see if you can stay with it and track the words. This very short poem called Caught in the Act by Dana Falls. Halfway to breakfast, a field of yellow flowers overpowered my senses and led me to forget the berries and dried fruit nestled in the bottom of my picnic basket. The promise of a future feast pales in the face of nature's immediacy, the overflowing plenitude of spring caught in the act of awakening. So taking a moment, if the eyes were closed, or if they were open and gaze down, just to reorient into the space you're in. Usually I do just kind of look around, a little bit of a stretch. And so I realized I didn't say this earlier, but when you open the chat, you have to select everyone. I think it defaults to hosts and panelists. So if you haven't done that and you have something that you'd like to offer, go ahead and do that. Um, I read that poem this morning, and I've read a lot of Dana Falls. I really like her a lot. And I'd never come across that poem, and I just thought it was quite apropos for spring. And it's a beautiful, beautiful morning here. After all the rain we had, it feels good to have the sun coming in, and I think it's the last nature caught in the act of awakening. I love that. So we do have, we've got a few minutes, 5 minutes or so for questions or comments, like anything at all that you would like to ask or share. So if you've come across an app or a book or something that has inspired you, so there's an opportunity to take a moment to share that. And of course, we can end a little bit early if there is nothing, but let me give it a minute or so. So Nathan says, I've been meditating regularly for a while, and I feel like I have just as many intrusive thoughts as when I started. Does the volume of thought decrease as you continue? So Nathan, I think there probably are others that kind of have that um, question as well. And so what I would say is not necessarily. And there is what's something that's really important in practice is just the attitude, the mental attitude that we bring. And so in a way, what's most helpful, and this comes from my teachers over many years, is letting go of any expectations of what you think should be happening or what you hope would be happening, including the decreasing of the volume of thoughts. Because I think one of the things that makes meditation so challenging is that when we remove all the typical distractions of a day and we are in a like what we're doing this morning, you're like creating room for so much to arise, and it does. And so really, in a way, we don't even have to be worried about the volume of thoughts. Like some days are going to be just feel easier than others, that the volume is just going to not be quite as intense. And then, even for my teachers who've been practicing for many years, it's the thinking still continues. What happens over time is we start to relate differently to those thoughts. It becomes less problematic. We become it's just, we can see our patterns and habits more clearly through this practice. So Nathan, it's all good news. It's just that it's challenging. And I think, culturally, we've been taught meditation is supposed to bring calm, and that is an ultimate byproduct, because we are changing our relationship to our thoughts, to our bodies. Um, and so I think that what I will say is, and I'm just coming off a silent retreat all last week, is that the volume when you're doing more intensive practice definitely decreases. But again, I am humbled every time I go for a practice when I'm on retreat to not know what that might be, what it's going to be like. And every retreat experience is different. But thank you for that question, because it's a really good one and a common one. I hope that helps. So in a way, you just sort of release expectations, and then everything opens up to you. The possibilities open up. Love driving down our street at this time and seeing the various flowers and shades of green to pop. And yeah, that's such a great time of year. New York Times did a well festival yesterday. I think that you can find it on YouTube. Dan Harris. Oh, great. You know what, Teresa? I think I saw that. I'll have to go back. I'll go back and check it out, because it caught my eye, and I didn't get a chance to look more closely, but I will. So, all right. So we are right at 9 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for your contribution, for just showing up and being here in community with each other. As I said, like this practice is simple, but it's not easy, and you know. But this kind of setting aside time, I think of it as just a little bit of a time at a time, um, that just helps us see more clearly what's on our mind, what's true and what's not true, and then bring that into our world, so that we're engaging in the world that really aligns with our values, with generosity, with compassion for others. So thank you, everybody. And hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you next week. Oh, Nathan, you're welcome. David, thank you. Okay, everybody, take care.